Hello and welcome back. In the last section, we looked at the cancellation flow, but we still need to go ahead and do a complete end-to-end testing here. So here I am on the checkout cart component page, and let me go ahead and say checkout. It should take me to the hosted page for Stripe, and I'm going to go ahead and say back here. And you see that the view doesn't update it here at all, and the shipping address also doesn't necessarily pre-fill here, and there is a reason behind that. All right, so as you know, JavaScript is asynchronous in nature, and we can't time or essentially guarantee the timing of the calls. We need to make sure we also have the dependencies in place here, especially at the time of doing the component loading or component mounting. So let's head over back to the Indie Cafe project in here. And if you look here inside the use effect, we are using the is authenticated call or the property to go through each of these blocks. So sometimes it might so happen that the is authenticated might be getting updated after certain events happen. So we need to be aware that we need to put that as a dependency here in the use effect. So every time there is a change in the is authenticated property, I want the use effect to rerun. So that should now take care of our stuff in here, including populating the address. And let's see what we get here right now. So if I go ahead and save this and head over back to the cart, I should actually get this in here. So you know what, actually let's go back in here, come back again. All right, and then let's do another checkout here and say back. We should get that particular view here, essentially saying order got cancelled and all that messaging, right? Super. And so the next thing we can do here is go back to our API Indie Cafe project. Let me go ahead and close this, and I also want to go ahead and close this, but let me go ahead and save everything. So go ahead and close everything, and inside of Stripe helper, we have chosen the currency here as INR. Okay, let's go back to the documentation here quickly, and I'm going to essentially go over the list of currencies that are supported on Stripe. Yeah, and then let me look for currencies here. Okay, currencies, supported currencies. Yeah, that's the one. So essentially it will give you a kind of 3-character codes for different countries, and this is the supported currencies here, right? It's essentially USD, AED, not sure what it is. Yeah, all these countries actually. NPR, I'm sure there must be INR here, Indian rupee somewhere. USD I can see, RST must be South African currency, I'm sure. How about GBP? Must be here somewhere. GBP, Great Britain pound, yes, it's here. SGD, Singapore dollar, yeah, it's right here. How about Australian dollar? AUD, yeah, it's there. Canadian dollar, it's here too. How about Euro? Not sure if it's the right thing. Yeah, is this the one? Quite likely, I'm not sure. Anyway, so if you go down here, down below, it also says that the currency needs to be provided in lowercase or something like that. Okay, so right here somewhere it mentions that. Yeah, it says 135 currencies while receiving your funds in 3 places, and okay. And somewhere it says it has to be mentioned in lower cases. Okay, let me see, lower. Yeah, that's where it is. Okay, ISO course must be in all lowercase letters when making the charge request. And if you look back here, we are also setting it in lowercase. And the next thing I want to do here is go look at our fulfillment scenario, right? So essentially, we have the payment done and Stripe knows about it, but it needs to let us know whether the payment happened successfully, right? So for that, they have a kind of process for fulfillment. Let me go here, it's right here. Okay, and then we essentially had to set up a webhook to fulfill the orders after a payment succeeds. and these are the most reliable way to handle business critical events. So if I go here right now, it gives us instructions in terms of how to go about it. So install Stripe. This is actually the Stripe CLI, and we will take a different approach to Stripe CLI, even though we can do it this way as well. And essentially we had to create a event handler on the server side, and that's looking for a particular event. Okay, essentially we had to have a webhook endpoint. All right, we have to get the payload, which is going to be kind of an event, and then verifying events came from Stripe. You can also do that using some Stripe secret here. Yeah, so essentially you can use the signature and the endpoint secret, which is essentially something that you can get from here somewhere. Okay, if I go back to the developers API keys, I think it'll be somewhere here. I need to check that. Webhooks, and there is nothing configured here right now, so it may not show. Once you configure that, it should definitely show that. Okay, if I go to settings, I don't think it'll have that. No. Okay, no problem. We'll come back and revisit that. Okay, down below here. So if you want to fulfill the order, this is what you have to do. You have to look for this particular event, okay, and then that event essentially means that Stripe is saying to us that you're good to go ahead and process this payment. So, and then you look for this event, and if the event type is session.completed, we essentially go ahead and fulfill the order here. And that's what they do here, is updating your database and all other collections. And there is also something like handle delayed notification methods, but this is not going to be, I don't think this is related to us. And receiving payments with delayed notification multiple days. Okay, so we'll not be looking at this part. We will be essentially looking at this particular stuff here, which they have mentioned. Super. So what he says is ensure it's running, go through the checkout as a test user. Your handler should receive a complete event and you should successfully have handled it. Super. So let's go ahead back to our code base. All right. And inside of my API in the cafe, I'm going to go ahead and create one more route here for payments. So let's go to the routes for payment. In fact, there is nothing here, so we may have to create one straight away. Okay, I'm going to say new file and call it payment.js. All right. And inside of here, I'm going to require an express as always. All right. And I need a router const. And this is going to be express.router coming from express package. And I'm going to say module.exports is equal to router. Super. And right inside here, I'm going to essentially have a router.post for my webhook. Okay. I'm going to say this is going to be /payments/webhook. Okay, and let me call this fulfill order. All right, and I need to make sure this is available in my controller, so I'm going to go ahead and inside of my controller create one more for the payment now. Say payment.js. Okay, and I'm going to say exports dot fulfill order is equal to, it's going to be an async function, an async arrow function to be precise, request, response, and next. Yeah. And for now, what we're going to do here is do a quick console log. Okay, let's say console log. I'm just going to go ahead and do the console log on request.body. Okay, Control Alt L. Okay, request.body. Okay, because it's going to be a post call, we'll have a lot of stuff inside the body. And for now, I'm just going to say rest.status. I'm going to set it to 200, and I'm just going to send a JSON body that, with the message that says successfully handled or something like that. Successfully handled. Alright, super. And let's see what we can go ahead and do here. I'm going to go inside here and I'm going to require that. I'm going to say fulfill order, okay, and that's equal to, it's going to be coming from controller require one step above into the controllers and from payment. Super. What else can we do here? I think that's about it. So essentially we have set up our webhook, and the thing is we need to essentially test this now. Alright, how can we do that? That's going to be an interesting thing, right? So the reason is because now we are actually running on localhost, and Stripe is running on the internet, right? So our localhost is not routable on the internet. In order to test this, we need to have some workarounds. And if you go back to Stripe here, excuse me, Stripe, I continue to call it Stripe for some reason. So let's go in here, go to the settings page, and if you go to the settings here, there would be something for the webhook, or maybe it's under developers. Yeah, go to the webhook here, and I can say add endpoint. Okay, and let's say I try to add something like HTTP localhost and 7787 was that port, and this is going to be API / payments / webhook here. This is the one, right? And we want to essentially look for session completed, checkout session completed here. So if I go ahead and add this, don't think I can do much here because, alright, so it says the URL must be accessible from the internet, so we cannot add this here. So the reason is obvious, so we need to have this made internet available, right? Available on the internet. So let's head over back to our project here. I'm going to use a extension here, and that's called ngrok. Okay, it is available here on VS Code extensions, and I already installed that here, ngrok for VS Code, and that's from Phil Nash, and there are multiple of them apparently, but I'm going to use the first one here. I've already installed it, and it's quite straightforward. If I go to now on my command palette and say ngrok, it's already there, ngrok, and then say start. Okay, and then it asks me for a port number for which I want a tunnel to be created. And if you look at it, we are running on 7787. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and 7787 and press enter. Now it should actually create a tunnel and give me a URL here. Okay, I'm going to copy this and let me go ahead and paste this just so that we can have a reference to that. So essentially this is the internet available address which we can give to Stripe for our local testing, of course, because once we deploy this on our cloud providers, this wouldn't be a problem. So we can essentially, instead of localhost, we can give this, and then essentially we will be able to receive all our webhook calls into our system. So let's go ahead and do that. Maybe I'll just go ahead and copy and keep it safely in some place so I don't have to remember it. Let's head back to here, and instead of localhost, I'm going to go ahead and give this URL. And if I say go ahead and add endpoint, super, it's managed to go ahead and add this right now. And remember, there is also this signing secret that the documentation talked about here. So if you go to the fulfill order, they had this particular signature, right? And they were trying to do that with the signature right here. So that's what it is essentially talking about, a real signature. And for now, what we're going to do though is we can actually send a test webhook. Okay, let's see if it actually comes into our system. Let's line them up side by side. And so in here, I should be able to now receive the webhook call from Stripe and into my command line here, okay, the terminal here. I'm going to say send the test webhook. This is going to send some mocked up data, and it says API payments webhook is not present. What happened? Okay, not found. Interesting. Okay, so something probably went wrong. Let's see what happens. So this is again, alright, I think there is a reason why it's doing that. Okay, let's head over back to our index.js. We're not wired up the entire thing. Alright, let's go ahead and say const payment routes is equal to, alright, and I'm going to go ahead and use that in here. Okay, app.use, and this is going to be prefixed and payment routes. Alright, I think now it should be humming. That should start to hum now. Okay, super. Let me go ahead and create some space in here so we get to actually see the incoming message. I'm going to click on send hook. Fingers crossed. Super, we got something in here. We got a webhook event, and we also sent a 200 back. It says successfully handled, and that's what we were sending anyway here, right? Super. And yeah, we are getting the webhook here, which is all this data. The request object, essentially it's an event, and the type is this one, and we have to make sure we are capturing this here. Super. I think we'll take a pause here. We have the webhook setup done, and we can essentially call our Stripe webhook and then get that relayed to our system here right now. And we'll come back and then look at how we can capture this particular event and then take the appropriate actions which will impact our Indie Cafe database. Let's take a brief pause and come back soon.